Hey guys, it's John from ARTV. It's time for a review of Isolate and Medicate, the 6th studio album from alternative metal and post-grunge group Seether. At this point in their career, they're probably wondering, how could this band possibly still be around? How are they still staying relevant? Are they mixing things up? We'll get to that in just a second. Before we dive into the review, don't forget to check out my Twitter, my Facebook, which are both linked down below, and of course my P.O. Box address is down there as well. You guys can feel free to send whatever you would like to that address. I'm going to be opening everything on my series Letters from a Fan on my second channel, Beyond ARTV, which is linked below as well. Diving back into Seether, here, after hearing their last record, Holding on the Strings, Better Left to Fray, I actually was feeling very positive towards the band, more so than I had been in quite a long time, at least since Karma and Effect, their 2005 record. And it's been 3 years since that album, and I do find myself going back to it from time to time. But at the same time, I kind of lost interest in Seether as I had kind of found other interests, other bands that seemed like they were doing more than Seether had. But at the same time, they're always something that I am going to go back to at some point. I do enjoy the majority of their discography, but at the same time, they can get very old. They can really grate on you, and with Isolate and Medicate, they aren't bringing that much new to the table, and I think that's the main problem that I have with it here. However, I was very excited for this record after hearing Words as Weapons, the lead single on this one. It definitely focuses more on lead singer Sean Morgan's vocals, and I thought that was something that was really cool. The guitars know when to kind of tone it down and also when to amp it up. Here on this one, they definitely attack more so in the chorus, and I like it when we can actually focus on what Morgan is singing. I think a lot of the lyrical messages here are very passive-aggressive and bitter, and are also good reminders, and I think that's when the band is at their best lyrically. I hate to say that, but the negativity is also something that's very relatable and comes off more emotive and more personal, and I guess more engaging when it comes to this band. The album is still very much post-grunge and hard rock at its core, but it's not doing it in an interesting way. At this point in their career, there are not enough new tricks or moments that are just interesting and demand repeated listening for me to even come back to this record, probably, at least for the most part. The band has tinkered with their sound somewhat over the years, but it's just that there isn't a whole lot of new stuff going on here from what I've heard from them in the past. In recent years, they have leaned more towards this polished and clean style rock that I've been hearing like on the radio. It's something that's a little bit more radio friendly, but it still has enough grit to it that it doesn't alienate their longtime fans such as myself. Some say that the harder edge that the band used to have had been lacking in recent years, and I think that that definitely is present here some on Isolate and Medicate, including on tracks like Suffer It All, Keep the Dogs at Bay, and even the album's really strong opener, See You at the Bottom. That latter track that I just mentioned is probably one of the more memorable on this record, just because of the fact that I find the guitars getting stuck in my head. The chorus is just really powerful. We hear Sean actually unleashing some yells and screams here on this one, and it's just that more emotional and raw. But with that being said, the game plan here on this record does quickly run itself out, with a lot of these tracks just feeling weak and ultimately just generic. Tracks like Crash and Watch Me Drown are among my least favorites here on the album, although they are not the only ones that do suffer from a lack of creative spirit. Redundancy is a major issue that I have here with Isolate and Medicate, with a lot of these tracks just feeling like they're reusing and recycling ideas from even the same album. The band not necessarily ripping themselves off, but at the same time, I don't know what else to call it because of the fact that there's multiple examples that I can use for this. For example, Same Damn Life sounds oddly like Watch Me Drown in its song structure and vocal style, and really not in a good way that says something like, oh hey, this album is really flowing quite nicely together here, and even though it still sounds kind of familiar, it sounds fresh. It's not in that way. It's kind of like, are you seriously using the same riff? Are you seriously using the same idea and just kind of splitting it into two different tracks and then throwing it on the same album? That being said, there are still several moments here on this record, Isolate and Medicate, that do shine through and can show me that the band still has talent. It's just that not a lot of them have me coming back. An exception to that, though, would be My Disaster. It's this dark track that feels like something that maybe Stained might have had up their sleeves at some point in their career and just never released to the world. Morgan's vocals here on this one just are very passionate and angry, and still, once again, passive-aggressive. I know I keep mentioning that, but that's a lot of what Seether is at their core, I feel like, and a lot of album's tracks are very bitter. The guitars grip me more here on this track than the majority of the album even does, and I think that the main thing that is highlighted here on this one is Sean Morgan's strong vocal performance, but he also has this really solid backing arrangement to go with it. The drumming on this one is extremely solid. I think on Words as Weapons as well, I really did like the drum patterns, so overall, the drumming on this record felt better than I had heard in quite a while from them. It's just that overall, I think that they kind of fell into these certain ruts and certain patterns that they wanted to go with for the record, and it just made it not stand out and click as a whole with me. Their trademark sound is really starting to wear thin with me at this point in their career, and I think that they needed more than just a mediocre record at this point for them to really stay relevant in the post-grunge or even the alternative scene. 2.5 out of 5 for me. So what are you guys thinking about this record? Have you heard it yet? Isolate and Medicate? Make sure you hit the like button on this review and share it with a friend. I appreciate you guys watching and sticking with the channel. We're over 7,500 strong. I recently did a collaboration with Anthony Fantano of The Needle Drop, which was huge. So if there are any new subscribers from that, welcome. I tend to do reviews from the rock, alternative, pop, and electronic influenced genres. And yeah, you can check out all the links to all my stuff in the description down below, or you can click right here to see my last review. That was the collaborative review with Mr. Fantano. Or you can click over there, that'll take you to the second channel. I will see you guys very soon, right here on Album Review TV, Beyond the Reviews.